What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Command and Console. My name is Jason. Today is going to be my favourite RPG games of all time. These are going to be 10 titles. I'm not the one that really kind of completes too many games, of course, but there's games here that I absolutely adore, completed them or haven't. I don't think it matters. I think if you put a set amount of hours into a game and you can tell that you like it or even love it, that's all that really matters to me. There are games here that I have finished, but there are some games that I'm never ever going to finish because they're just rock hard. But anyway, let's get to the first game. Number 10, Strangers of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. This game, you've heard me talk about it in my previous video of picking up RPGs. I haven't finished this one yet, but the 30 or so hours that I've put in so far, I absolutely love this game to pieces, to the point where it's cracked the top 10 list of RPGs for me. The leveling system is fantastic, the combat is bloody brilliant, and the way you can trick out your party with some unwieldy weapons and some awesome power-ups and skills. It's just such a great RPG. The game just floods you with loot as well, so you're always just like going into the menus, leveling up your weapons, leveling up your party members, giving them all the best gear you can find. It's the most satisfying power fantasy, power grind kind of game. It's inspired by like Dark Souls, that Souls-like vibe, but it's got a heart-pounding, heart-pumping action combat that I absolutely love. And yeah, it's a pseudo remake of Final Fantasy 1. I adore this game. I can't wait to finish it. It's one of those games where it gets its hooks in me and I don't want to stop playing it. Number 9, Technomancer. Another game that I've spoken about before. This game got really bad reviews when it came out, but I played it all the way through to the end, got both endings, and I absolutely loved this one. Like I said in my previous video, it's a combination. It's pretty much inspired by Knights of the Old Republic and Mass Effect, and this is like your kind of indie, I wouldn't say indie, it's kind of your like lower budget AA kind of affair, where it's got loads of ambition. They don't necessarily meet that ambition, but what they do give us is a really awesome kind of RPG set on Mars. You're this Technomancer, which pretty much is like the equivalent of a Jedi, but a bit different. And you've got loads of skills trees. You can train in guns, you can train in swords and hand-to-hand weapons, but when you unlock those Technomancer powers, the game becomes loads of fun. I really enjoyed this one. It's got an interesting story. The quests are varied and different, and it's just really, really fun. Number 8, South Park, The Stick of Truth. I've been a South Park fan ever since it very first began. I was a massive fan of it growing up as a young boy going into teenagehood. Loved it, and I've just been following it ever since. I've not really seen it. I've not watched it, the last recent seasons I've not really watched, but, going from like season 1 all the way through to like season 12, season 13, that kind of time, I was addicted to South Park. So when I knew they were going to bring out this RPG, South Park The Stick of Truth, I knew it was one game I was going to pick up on launch, and I did, and it is one of the best RPGs ever made. It's a massive love letter to South Park fans, and I think if you've watched any of the cartoon in any manner, you're gonna have a lot of fun with this one. It's basically as if you're playing an episode of the show. This game is so good. It's got an amazingly simple but awesomely fun turn-based combat system where you can basically do some awesome funny attacks. Loads of references to the show in this as well. You've got the whole of South Park to explore and uncover, things to collect, and leveling up your skills and meeting all the boys, and it's just, there's so much packed into this game that is pretty much 20 years or more of the show crammed into this game. So if you're like me and you've grown up with the show for all these years, you're gonna understand all the references. There's gonna be stuff in here that is just gonna be like, oh, I remember that was hilarious. There's so much to this game that it's unbelievable how good it is. It's a 10 out of 10 RPG for me. it's a all-timer, and the fact that it's a licensed game makes it even more, amazing. I love this game. Stick of Truth. It's hilarious. I don't want to go into story plot details because I think it's one of those games where if you are a big fan of South Park and you've not played this one, I think it's so fun to go into it completely blind and really discover what this game has and what it does, and all the nods to the previous 20 years of its existence is so good. Number 7, Dead Island Riptide. Some people might not consider this an RPG, but I 100% think it's a open world first person zombie RPG. It's so good. I love this game so much. 35 to 40 hours to complete the campaign. You could probably put a lot more hours than that into it if you want to get the other endings and collect all the collectibles and upgrade all your weapons and see all the different combinations of crafting that you can do in this game. But the thing that sells this game for me is the world that you actually explore is awesome, and it's the very unique. No other game has first person melee combat quite like this game. It's so unique. It's all about targeting limbs and damaging limbs, so the zombies can't chase you, like going for their knees, so they have to crawl out for you. Or the bigger enemies, you go for their arms so they can't attack you. This game is just so much fun, man. I love it. It teases guns at the beginning, takes them away, then you're there to use your fists or craft weapons out of baseball bats and spikes. So you've got spiked bats. You can do all sorts in this game. It's so fun. It's not a straight up sandbox as such in terms of games like GTA. This is more of a story focused, mission focused, quest focused game. Quest focused RPG where you'd be going to different locations, different locales, doing certain missions. It's just so fun, man. This game is awesome. One of my favourite, if not my favourite zombie game in this kind of genre. I love Resident Evil. Resident Evil was my favourite, franchise of all time. If we put Resident Evil aside, when it comes to favourite zombie game, it's Dead Island Riptide. This game is awesome. If you've not given this game a go, or you have and you didn't think it was for you, maybe give it a revisit. It's up there for me. It's in my top 10 of RPGs. I love this game. It's awesome. Number 6, Dark Souls. What can I say about Dark Souls that has not been said by millions of people at this point? I was introduced to the Souls-like formula on the PS3 with the original Demon Souls. I loved that game. But when Dark Souls came out, and you kind of tighten the screws and improve the mechanics of Demon Souls, it was a winner from day one for me. Obviously, it's absolutely renowned for its difficulty, and it's absolutely renowned for its world building, its lore, and its just this awesome combat mechanics that make you want to learn the patterns of enemies and do your best to, trial and error in terms of figuring out how to defeat these mounting of obstacles in this game. The world is just bleak and dark, but overall beautiful in its presentation. The mechanics are, tightly kind of screwed in. It's locked in. There's not, at the time there was no game that felt like this when it concerns the action RPG genre. No game was like this at all. Game is beautiful to explore. You want to go into new areas and explore it, or there's sometimes you want to go to a new area but you're too scared that it's just going to absolutely just stomp you into the ground. If you go, I'm going to go down that way, and then a Black Knight turns up and stomps you into oblivion. That happens a lot in this game. But yeah, I just love the leveling up aspect. We've got campfires. Every time you rest at a campfire, it respawns all the enemies that you've killed in areas you've already been. This game is a landmark for action RPGs. It's a 10 out of 10 game for me. I could have picked some other games in the Souls-like genre, like Bloodborne or Dark Souls 3 even. It's probably a better game in the way it's they've evolved the mechanics. But the original Dark Souls for me is hands down one of the best RPGs ever made. It's a landmark RPG, and there's in the action RPG genre at the moment, everyone is trying to ape Dark Souls. Number 5, Fable. Fable is such a little charming British RPG. I had to put it in this list. It has to be up in the upper echelons for me. It was advertised to your choices matter. You can be a hero and people can, You know, you go into towns, they will sing your praises and that, or you can go down the dark side, right? You can become an evil bastard. Your physical appearance changes based on your actions in this game. Very subtly, nothing major, but if you start doing evil deeds and evil things, you start to, your skin goes pale, your eye sockets are kind of sunken in, you grow horns. There's so much personality in Fable that I absolutely adore it. But you could talk about the combat is not perfect. The promises they gave us in the pre-ramble before this game came out weren't delivered on. But as a as a game that I picked up on day one in 2004 and just played it from start to finish, I loved it. I loved it. It's still one of the best RPGs for me. Maybe 2 and 3 kind of improved on things that I could, objectively are better, but this game has a special place in my heart. There's so many cool things in this game, man. I love it. It's one of my favourites of all time. Number 4, Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic. I do remember picking this game up for the first time when I had an original Xbox, and I was absolutely blown away by its in-depth mechanics, its graphics at the time, and its awesome story. One of the best Star Wars stories ever told, in my opinion, and it's in a bloody video game. What can I say about this game, man? It's one of BioWare's best games. It's not their best game, I'm going to get to that soon. It's probably their best game after their best game. It's probably their second best game. That's right. That sentence was all over the shop, Jason. Well done, sir. Anyway, I love this game. Obviously picking it up back when I was a massive Star Wars fan. I mean a massive Star Wars fan. 2003, we just had the 2 prequel movies. It was gearing up for the 3rd prequel movie, Revenge of the Sith, and my hype for Star Wars couldn't be greater at that period. I was a young teenager. I grew up with the original trilogy. Yeah, I was all for Star Wars. So when I got an original Xbox and this came out, it was like, I need this in my life. When I saw the amount of the depth and the dialogue and the story and the combat and the graphics and the fact that you can go down the path and actually become a Jedi, it was all awesome. One of the earlier games where becoming a Jedi was really awesome, and now every Star Wars game you're a fucking Jedi. But anyway, you could choose where you would go. You could become a smuggler if you wanted to, but everyone became a Jedi, didn't they, in this game? Everyone became a Jedi. This is awesome. It's such a good game. I love it. I can't praise it enough. It's just so good. It's choose your path, Even this box art. This box art is iconic to me. Absolutely iconic. Sure, the Xbox version isn't the best version. I think the PC version is probably the way to go, but this is where my nostalgia lies, man. This is where I love it. Knights of the Old Republic is one of the best games ever made. It's not just one of the best RPGs, it's one of the best games ever. As you can see, guys, I'm just rambling about these games. I'm not going into any specific detail with these. I'm just rambling on how much I love these games. If you're enjoying this video and you also love RPGs, give this video a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below your favourite RPG of all time. Number 3, Elder Scrolls 4, Oblivion. Elder Scrolls Oblivion is a special game to me because it opened the floodgates of a fully featured open world role-playing game. It was the biggest of biggest deals for me when it concerns Western RPGs. A fully open world, kind of like do what you like, choose your own adventure. Sure, there was the main storyline you could go down. There was that main story path. But there was always weird little side bits you could do. You can just go and explore and find something really awesome. Like I remember I was exploring once. I came across a vampire coven randomly. And then I became a vampire. And then my save was kind of pointless because every time I start my save, the sun come up and I died. Oblivion is so good, man. The mix of dialogue choices, building your own character up for however you want. If you want to be a sneaky little thiefy bastard, you could be that. If you want to be a massive brute, just massive great sword in your hand, you could be that. Like I like stealing shit in all the shops. Put a fucking bin on the guy's head. You do that. You can put the bin up there. You can put something on their head so they can't see you. and just steal all their stuff. That's what I used to do. I was a little bastard in this game. Yeah, I love this game, man. It may not be aged too well now, but it's got buckets of charm. It's so fun to play and just explore the world, and it's got crazy fun ragdoll physics in it. And the DLC in this is legendary. And I'm not talking about the fucking horse armor either, you bastards. These two DLCs are legendary. Yeah, Elder Scrolls 4 is godlike to me. These next ones are also godlike as well. One of the greatest RPGs of all time, in my opinion. It's better than Skyrim. Skyrim's cool, but I'm over Skyrim now to the point where it's like, it was cool in 2011. Skyrim's kind of not that cool now in 2024. Yeah, it's all right. This game was better, in my opinion. There was a sense of wonder. I couldn't wait to jump back on this every time and go exploring and seeing what crazy antics I can get up to. It was awesome. Right, we're down to our final two, and these could alternate easy. I could just be like, oh, one day the other one's number one. You know, it doesn't really matter to me, because to me these are the two greatest RPGs of all time, bar none. I adore these games. I've beat them numerous times. I've put in so many hours, it's ridiculous. These are the best. So right now, right this second, number two is going to be number 2, Dragon Age Origins. When this game came out, guys, it wasn't really on my radar, but after Oblivion, I was in the mood for RPGs big time, and the name BioWare was a big deal to me because they made games like Jade Empire, which is pretty cool, and they made Knights of the Old Republic, which you saw in my previously in this list. So the name had weight for me. So when the BioWare name was on this game, I remember browsing Blockbuster. Dragon Age Origins for the 360 was up for rent. And I was like, I'm going to rent this bastard. And I'm going to fucking play it. And I remember, at the time I was unemployed, sinking unhealthy amounts of hours into Dragon Age Origins. Unhealthy amount of hours, to the point where I would go all day, just sit there and just play. Be engrossed in the story, be engrossed in the combat. The world is awesome. The array of characters are some of the best in any RPG, in my opinion. The supporting cast is basically godlike in terms of how good they are. This game is fantastic. It's awesome. The combat is very kind of, it's not turn-based in that sense, but it's that kind of like, you press your action, you wait, and it kind of auto attacks, I suppose you could say. Very similar to the Knights of the Old Republic combat. So having that kind of resemblance in the way the mechanics work is probably why I love this game so much, because at the time it reminded me of Knights of the Old Republic, and I just played tons of it. I love all the characters. I love the world. The combat is kind of methodical but satisfying at the same time. Yeah, this game just blew me away when it came out, and I think it still holds up now. Probably doesn't hold up very well visually because it wasn't particularly the best looking game when it came out, so the visuals have dated big time. But fuck visuals, man. This game has the story there for you to get engrossed with, the characters to fall in love with, and it's got satisfying methodical combat that is just, it's always fun to get into fights, in my opinion. And it's infinitely replayable as well, because you can choose different races which have different origins, and you can create new stories in the game as well. There is no Dragon Age sequel that has topped this. Dragon Age 2 was alright, was nowhere near this, and I thought Dragon Age 3 Inquisition was a bit bloated. The combat wasn't very good, and it was too big. Dragon Age Origins is the best of that bunch, and yeah, it's my number 2. Number 1 is Mass Effect 2. As you can see, guys, BioWare has had a lot of shout, a lot of clout in this video. Probably because I believe that BioWare does it the best. Modern day, not so much, but you know, in the mid to late 2000s, early 2010s, they were king for the RPG genre, in my opinion. Mass Effect 2 is their crowning achievement. This game is unbelievably good. Probably the greatest sequel of all time in terms of video games. I absolutely adore this game to pieces, guys. Now, fun fact about Mass Effect and my relationship with it. I don't particularly like the first Mass Effect game in terms of its mechanics and its gameplay, funny enough. Right, I thought it was kind of a janky piece of shit, if I'm honest. I know, roast me in the comments, guys, whatever. But what made me get through that first game was its characters, its writing, and its world building. Unrivaled in the RPG genre, in my opinion. And then they brought out Mass Effect 2, and they just upgraded everything about it. All that jankiness and rough edges and the combat being crap and everything like that, completely renewed energy with everything. The characters, the relationships you could build, and the world building upon that, even more expanded. Unrivaled leveling up in terms of its, you know, game design, its mechanics. Everything is perfection to me. Sure, people might not like the mining the planets sections, but you know, they're few and far between, and you can get through them in like a minute or two. They're not that bad. They're really not that bad. But yeah, it's all about the story, the characters, and everything in between, guys. As a game, it's super fun. As a story and a place to lose yourself within its world, it's unmatched in video games for me. I fucking adore Mass Effect 2. The combat is awesome. It plays similarly to like an over-the-shoulder shooter, but it's got so much depth with its like augment abilities and stuff like that. It's so good, guys. Man, this game is unmatched in my opinion for RPGs. It might particularly be a boring answer for favourite RPG of all time, because this game has been praised to death and back in the last 14 years. But I just think it's you know, this is my list. Your list is going to be different, of course, so it should be. But this is my favourite RPG of all time. Mass Effect 2 is absolutely unrivaled to me, and just talking about it, I want to go and play it again. Now, I've not actually tried to play the legendary editions of these games, the remastered versions that EA put out. Maybe I should go and start a new trilogy. Start the trilogy again. Yeah, Mass Effect 2, man. What a game. One of the best games ever made. My favourite game of all time. But most importantly for this video, it's my favourite RPG of all time. That's Mass Effect 2. So that is it, guys. That is my 10 favourite RPGs of all time. As always, guys, like I asked before, comment down below. Let me know, what is your all-time favourite RPG? There's tons I could have brought up in this video. There's loads of them. I'm going to drop an honourable mention so you can see a few games that didn't make the cut. Some big ones in there as well that I couldn't quite fit them on the list. But these are my 10 favourites as of right now. But these games are top tier. They're the best of this genre, and I think everyone should give them a go. So that's it, guys. As always, let me know any of your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, let's continue to build the games collection.